Did you know that the best-selling phone of all time isn't an iPhone? Neither is it an Android. It's actually a Nokia. Nokia was on top of the world 20 years ago before the age of the whole smartphones, with the Nokia 1100 selling a whopping 250 million units. That's almost 100 million units more than the best-selling iPhone of all time and the iPhone 6. And actually, 6 other phones on that list are Nokias. But nowadays, they're nowhere to be seen. So how did they fumble the bag and nearly go bankrupt? This is a story of how Nokia phones made their way to the top, how the iPhone shifted the game, and how Nokia failed to adapt to modern times. Whoops, sorry, one sec. Who's calling my phone? Nokia was actually founded and named after its city, Nokia, Finland, in 1865. Yeah, they actually mad old. That's because for the majority of the beginning of their brand, they didn't sell phones. The founders would actually manufacture paper, rubber, and cable for the first century of the company. In the mid-1900s, Nokia would diversify and expand into other industries via acquisition. In 1981, they introduced themselves into the consumer electronics by purchasing Mobira and making their first ever phone, the Mobira Senator. It was for the next 20 years where Nokia brilliantly went all in on the telecommunications industry and shifted their focus away from tires and TV. CEO Jorma Ollila in 1992 would later quote, "We understood at a very early stage that a mobile phone would be a product in every man's hand." So they went all in on making an exceptional phone with the Mobira Cityman 900 in 1987. Earlier phones had weighed up to 5 kilos, but the 900 only weighed 800 grams and went on to become a status symbol. The 900 even became a global sensation when Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev used it during a visit to Helsinki. They kept making their phones even smaller and more portable, like with the 2110, and even added a keyboard with the 9000. The Nokia 8110 became a cultural phenomenon as it was featured in the classic movie The Matrix. Coined as the banana phone, its unique curved design combined with its movie cameo made it become the phone that everyone wanted at the time. By 1998, Nokia overtook Motorola to become the largest mobile phone brand on the planet. The phones were even getting affordable, with the 3210 being just around $200. But it wasn't just their inexpensive price, portable size, or cultural relevance. The people loved Nokias because apparently they were indestructible. iPhone falls to the floor, breaks the screen. My old Nokia falls to the floor, breaks the floor. Apparently this phone really lasted forever and couldn't break. The legendary 3310 was known to be one of the greatest phones of all time, only having to charge it once a week. The 3310 could go on days without charging. And it had the Snake game. Sheesh, I mean, remember when you could play the Snake game while your YouTube video was loading? Oh my. They would continue to improve this model and even have more iconic moments, like featuring their lipstick phone in the Pussycat Dolls hit song with will.i.am, Beep. In 2007, Nokia's market share in the mobile phone industry was a whopping 49%. That means for every 2 phones, one of them was a Nokia, and they made $75 billion in revenue that year. They had a colossal global footprint. They seemed untouchable, but it was later that year that things would completely take a turn. It was when Steve Jobs changed the phone industry forever and introduced the iPhone. And the iPhone out-iconed Nokia. Its large capacitive touchscreen and app selection was revolutionary, and Nokia bet against them as they didn't think the iPhone would pan out. So they stuck to their successful business model of creating durable, long-lasting, affordable phones. iPhones focused on software, whereas Nokia continued to only focus on hardware. And for the longest time, it didn't matter, because all you had to do was call, text, or email for the most part, until the iPhone came out. In 2008, Apple introduced the App Store, and now any developer could create an app. This was also when Android introduced their first competitor with the HTC Dream, and Nokia didn't do anything. Smartphones were rapidly moving, and Nokia didn't make a single adjustment. On top of this, internally they were starting to get into panic mode as their numbers started to drop. So they scrapped up the N97, which the media mistakenly labeled it as the iPhone killer, which it helped kill itself. Nokia thought it was a nuke, but they nuked themselves. All these years, Nokia hardware was a W, but their software was an L. Their OS Symbian got exposed. It was awful with slow performance and an outdated user interface. By the 2010s, iPhone versus Android dominated the conversation. Nobody was talking about no N97, but not only was there no conversation, the N97 had 500 apps on their app store, while the iPhone had over 100,000. Nokia finally started to realize that they were falling behind. Nokia ended up hiring a new CEO, Stephen Elop, who gave a speech in 2011 to all of Nokia saying, quote, "We fell behind, missed big trends, and lost time. We now find ourselves years behind." He also acknowledged how Symbian sucked. Symbian Symbian is proving to be an increasingly difficult environment in which to develop to meet the continuously expanding consumer requirements. Yeah, and the speech actually ended up leaking, which hurt their brand rep because people could see that the company internally was falling apart. They could have joined Android, but instead, they returned with an epic comeback introducing the revolutionary Lumia series. Yeah, Elop, having worked with Microsoft, developed a partnership with them creating a new OS. Inspired by the new release of Windows 8, Windows Phone OS would have a similar tile interface, and it was unique but not user-friendly or intuitive at all. Just as Windows 8 was flopping, so was Windows Phone OS. So developers didn't want to add their apps, but also all the apps were already being developed on the iPhone or Android. Nokia was just way too late to the app game. Other than the Nokia's distinguishable design and solid back camera, it was an all-around flop. It didn't even have a front-facing camera. From 2007 to 2013, Nokia's market share went from 49% to 3% with an enormous $4.9 billion loss. Year after year, they would try to improve their phones, but because of their fundamentally bad OS and app support, no cultural real estate, they were falling apart. And they sold their last Windows Phone in 2016 with the Lumia 650, with Windows Phone OS officially dying the year after. While the company itself actually made a comeback and is well alive today, Nokia phones died. The once best-selling phone of all time is no longer here. Even goats can take L's too. They just didn't even try to compete with smartphones, and once they did, just a year later, it was too late. But what did you think? Do you happen to have any vivid memories of your Nokia? What could they have done to avoid their downfall? Let me know in the comments. Peace. At least this Nokia intern turned nothing into $1 billion.